Here's how to know if you're mentally enslaved. If you're a black person who self-identify using the derogatory N-word that was brutally imposed upon our enslaved ancestors to dehumanize and degrade them, then you are mentally enslaved. If you believe that an alleged holy book that was violently, brutally beaten into the blood-soaked minds of our enslaved ancestors now provides the path to our freedom, you are mentally enslaved. If you're a black person who resents your own people based upon information and media depictions controlled by our historically racist and corrupt oppressors, who thrives when we are divided, demoralized, and made self-loathing, then you are mentally enslaved. If you insist that we are our own worst enemies, despite overwhelming evidence proving that white oppressive forces still remains our worst enemies, then it's because you are mentally enslaved. If you get your morals from a book written by a group whose historical actions have been morally reprehensible, then you are mentally enslaved. If you believe that an alleged holy book that strongly supports the evils of slavery, and that was in fact written by history's proven most ungodliest group, contains the true words of God, then you are in fact mentally enslaved. The mentally enslaved cannot see when their beliefs makes no sense. Mental slavery blinds you to contradiction. It makes the illogical feels logical and makes lies feel like the truth. Therefore, to the mentally enslaved, nonsense makes perfect sense. This mental condition is also called thinking without actually thinking. When objectively looking at all the facts, it becomes clear that millions of black people have been brainwashed to think in ways that are against our own self-interest and instead in ways that serves and protects the system of white supremacy. Those black people who do not critically think never notices their mental change. The real Matrix is not a computer simulation. It's not a movie, nor does it have anything to do with the red pill. The real Matrix is an elaborate prison created for the collective minds of black people through the white society's monopoly over information that we receive, which allows them to control what we believe. They've exploited this scenario to create an elaborate prison for our minds. It's how the white society protects itself from acts of massive unified black retribution, given its long history of racism, oppression, and discrimination against black people. It also allows the white society to continue oppressing black people without any black resistance. Those who insist that black people are no longer being oppressed are in fact ignorant of their own ignorance. Because although black people no longer experience the type of blatant oppressive tactics as our grandparents had experienced it, we are still being oppressed. Wealthy black celebrities makes up less than 1% of our population and are therefore not evidence that black people are no longer being oppressed. They're actually being deliberately overrepresented within the media to create that illusion. But the truth is, when the blatant methods used in the past resulted in unprecedented unified black protests, when it became no longer socially acceptable changing times, the white oppressors did not abandon their oppressive practices. They instead merely developed more covert methods that are not as easily recognized nor as easily comprehended by most of their black victims. They now continue covertly oppressing black people while simultaneously manipulating the black masses to perceive ourselves as being our own worst enemies. This allows the oppression of black people to continue without any massive unified black resistance. The 1999 Matrix films is actually a revelation of the method that allows the white society to avoid the law of karma. Within the Matrix film, Neo awakens to discover that the true humans were being mentally enslaved by soulless beings. Moreover, that these soulless beings are the programmers of everything that the true humans believed. They perpetually kept the humans trapped within a false version of reality that allowed them to exploit them without any resistance. Likewise, the white society has exploited its monopoly over the contents that are fed into the minds of black people to keep us perpetually mass manipulated, misinformed, distracted, and kept within a form of mental bondage, which allows them to continue subjugating, exploiting, and oppressing black people without any black resistance. The matrix film is a practice called revelation of the method that allows the white society to avoid the law of karma. Karma, karma. There are hidden rules and principles within this warfare of domination that must be adhered to. The oppressors must make their oppressive tactics available to the oppressed. They therefore often embed them within movies, TV shows, and books. They don't make the revelation easy to recognize. They do so only enough to meet the threshold necessary to avoid the law of karma. They masquerade it to appear as merely entertainment. However, because the oppressive tactic have been made available, when the oppressed do not act upon the knowledge, by default, they've given the oppressors permission to oppress and rule over them. It's a social contract that allows the oppressors to avoid the law of karma. The Matrix film is clearly a revelation of the method which allows the white society to avoid the law of karma for what it has done to the black population. Through their monopoly over information that is fed into the minds of the black population, the white oppressors have trapped the collective minds of millions of black people within an enormous illusory truth effect that allows the white society to continue exploiting black people without any black resistance. An illusory truth effect is when people have been repeatedly fed false information, resulting in their perception of reality aligning with the false information instead of the true reality. This is scientifically possible because public perception is not shaped based upon facts nor reality. It's actually shaped by the narratives that are repetitively fed into the society. Therefore, all that's required to distort a targeted population's perception of reality is to repeatedly feed them false information. Their collective minds will eventually become aligned with the false information. Because the white society controls the information that are repetitively fed into the minds of black people, they therefore literally owns black people's perception of reality. They fed lots of false information into the collective minds of the black masses that creates an enormous illusory truth effect that greatly aids in maintaining white social dominance over the black population. Our core problem is that most black people are totally clueless of how the white society has weaponized their control over information against us. Most black people have never even heard of the term information warfare. Until now, you haven't been seeing the true reality. You've instead been inaccurately perceiving reality as falsely depicted through the distorted lens of the white society. Welcome to the real world. Just like within the Matrix film, they mentally enslave us while exploiting us. We are the batteries that fuse the white society. A fact that has been deliberately expunged from the public record and omitted from our whitewashed history books is that after slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, beginning from 1870 through 1940, African Americans submitted 726 invention pattern to the U.S. Patent Office. For people to go almost directly from being enslaved, where they were denied an education, to then producing so much invention in such a short time span is astounding. Furthermore, those numbers of patent applications submitted by African Americans more than doubled those submitted by whites during the same time frame, in spite of the fact that African Americans made up less than 5% of the population. This scenario of black people outperforming Caucasians at creating inventions still hiddenly continues. It's concealed by the fact that in order for black inventors to get their inventions mass produced, they have no other option than to go before white companies. Those white companies acquires the right to these inventions and then places white faces in front of the inventions. The patent office has also often been used to steal the intellectual property rights from black inventors. The hidden reality is that, in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were either in fact invented by black people or were directly inspired by earlier inventions made by black people. Your perception is a white deception. Without black people, there would exist no working light bulbs, no electric lamps, no motors, no automobiles, no helicopters, no airplanes. A black man built and flown and patterned an airplane 3 years before the Wright brothers did so. History, we've been taught, is a whitewashed lie. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers. We only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the fire escape ladder, air conditioning, and heating systems, which are essential in order for people to live or work within skyscrapers. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones, no emails. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scopes. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aid, no touch-tone phones, no caller IDs, no home surveillance security systems, no home game cartridges, no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleaning, no lawnmowers, no doorknobs, no 3D movies, etc., etc. Black people have made significant contributions to the entire world through the advance in technology, medicine, science, the arts, and humanities, but they depict us as only being into rap and sports. It's by deliberate design that most people are unaware of these historical facts. These facts have been deliberately expunged from the public record and omitted from our whitewashed history books to create a false perception of reality that aids in maintaining white social dominance and white social capital over the black population. In addition to exploiting the great minds of Africans, the white society has also exploited Africa's natural resources. They've created a perception that Africans need the Western world to survive. But the true reality is that the Western world needs Africa to survive. The Western world cannot sustain itself for more than 2 years without the incoming of natural resources from Africa. The capitalist European and North American power exploits Africa's gold, diamond, oil, tin, iron, copper, rubber, and cocoa. They also exploit the African coltan. The Western world's smartphones, laptop, and other electronic devices will not work without an African mineral called coltan. Africa itself is not poor. It's in fact the richest continent on earth. There's billions to be made and carved out of Africa. It's been this way for more than 500 years. It's only many African nations that remain poor due to Western world's exploitation of Africa and unfair trade rules. Now, I have revealed how black people are being kept with a collective mental state that allows the white society to exploit us without any black resistance. Now I will present scientific evidence proving that we Africans are the true humans and that the oppressors are the soulless ones that mentally enslaves us. Although it is a fact that Caucasians share more physical characteristics with the Neanderthals of ancient Europe than they presently do with we melanated Africans, they have, however, conditioned the world to ignore this fact and have totally separated themselves from those cave-dwelling Neanderthals of Europe. They instead depict themselves as being the highest evolved African Homo sapiens that became white due to migrating to the colder climate of Europe, an alleged form of mutational albinism. However, that myth has been totally busted by science. According to 2 recent studies published in the journal Nature that look at the DNA fossil hidden in the modern human genome, Africans have been scientifically proven as being the only true homogeneous species. Africans' melanated skin color and our hair type have been scientifically proven as being the direct result of Homo sapien DNA. The oppressor's skin color and animalistic hair types have been proven as being the direct result of Neanderthal DNAs. The Darwin evolutionary theory chart does not apply to we Africans. Unlike the oppressors and all other groups that evolved from subspecies primates, Africans have instead always been Homo sapiens. The scientific term for all other groups is actually Homo sapiens sapiens. The additional sapiens refers to modern humans that evolved from subspecies primates. Unlike all other groups, Africans did not evolve from primates, but have instead always been humans. Africans are the only true homogeneous species and are not even included on the Darwin evolutionary chart. This might be a bit of a disappointment to those of you that favors the premise that all life originated in Africa and spread throughout the world. But history has been whitewashed to favor our oppressors. It has been scientifically proven that we Africans are the true Homo sapiens. All other groups, in spite of being racist towards us, they falsely attach themselves onto we Africans to falsely give themselves a Homo sapien identity. This is the truth. Now I will demonstrate that the oppressors are the soulless beings. Scientists have found that the pineal gland within Caucasians are over 80% calcified and therefore non-functioning. According to many scientists, the pineal gland located in the center of the brain is important not only because it produces melanin, but also because the pineal gland produces the human traits, characteristics, and behaviors that are associated with possessing a soul. This includes sympathy, compassion, empathy, and remorse. It is therefore regarded as the principal seat of the soul. Scientists have found that the pineal gland within Caucasians are over 80% calcified and therefore non-functioning. This literally means that 80% of what controls Caucasians' thoughts, decisions, and behaviors, which is regarded to the soul, does not work. This scientific finding correlates with the collective behaviors demonstrated by Caucasians throughout history. Throughout history, the Caucasians have demonstrated an almost total disregard for the human lives of other groups. Their subjugation, murder, exploitation of all other races is unparalleled. There has never been a time in human history which the oppressors have not either exploited millions of people and have contributed either directly or indirectly to the misery, suffering, and death of millions of people. They've killed, pillaged, and raped more people throughout history than all other racial groups have done so combined. These are facts. And they haven't changed. Quiet as is kept and underreported. Most violent crimes are still, in fact, committed by Caucasians. Because they control the narrative that are fed into our society, they have distorted your perceptions of reality. Through their control over the flow of information, they've whitewashed reality. This is not hate speech, this is the truth. When observing the scientific findings that 80% of where the soul lies within the oppressors is calcified, and when comparing these findings to the oppressor's horrific history, it then becomes clear to see that there's a correlation between the oppressor's calcified pineal gland and their moral behaviors demonstrated throughout history. The Matrix is our story. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake up to our reality. It's time to elevate your mind above biblical fairy tale and silly slave syndrome myth and learn the truth. Welcome to the real world.